What is up, everyone, and welcome to my channel. I was excited to make this video for you guys and show you guys the new RSX that I purchased for the YouTube channel, and I was gonna make a restoration project out of this, kind of bring this car back to life, but unfortunately I got bad news because a few days after I bought this car, I realized that what the seller told me wasn't really true. So what I mean about what the seller told me isn't true is that he basically told me that the car worked fine and the car had no issues, but that is not what I came to find out a few days after driving this car. So a couple of the issues that the car has, the AC doesn't run. It runs for like 10 minutes and then it just stops blowing cold. So I need to address that issue. It also hit me with the check engine light a few days after driving this car. After it hit me with the check engine light, I was kind of skeptical to keep driving this car. I didn't know if it would leave me stranded. So immediately once I got out of work, I drove the nearest O'Reilly's and I scanned the car. So let me show you guys the clip of that. Engine light. I just bought this car this past weekend. So I'm on my way to O'Reilly's right now to see what's going on with the check engine light. So yeah, it turns out that the car either has a bad catalytic converter or hopefully a bad O2 sensor. I'm saying hopefully because the O2 sensor is a lot cheaper to fix here in California. Because if you're not from California, or if you are and you don't know this, here in California you can't just replace it with an aftermarket catalytic converter. It needs to be an OEM catalytic converter, and as you can imagine, an OEM catalytic converter for this car, it's not cheap. The cheapest I've been able to get a quote on is $1,000. So that's a lot considering any other state you could just order an aftermarket one for, you know, $150 and have it installed for probably less than $100. So yeah, that's an issue I'm having. And to replace the AC, it's also going to be a good amount. The compressor alone I've seen is like $800. Yeah, it's gonna probably be like another $1,000 to get the AC fixed. But to tell you guys, my original plan for this car was to have it restored, have it painted, have it basically looking not perfect, but I did want to do it kind of like make sure everything in this car works, everything looks okay, not perfect but in decent condition, and that includes the paint. So I also wanted to paint this car, and to paint this car I'm hoping I can find a shop that does it for around $1,000, but that might be a little tough in today's market. So I was kind of hoping to keep it under $1,500, and my goal for this car was to have it restored for less than what the Kelley Blue Book values this car, which is around a little under $6,000. I'll put the little picture somewhere up here. When I originally had that plan, I hadn't gone to check engine light. I had already noticed that the AC wasn't working, and I think I could still do it without that. But if it is a catalytic converter, I don't think I'm gonna be able to stay under that price, because I paid $2,600 for this car. I think this car is still a fair deal for the $2,600 that I paid for it. This chassis does have a lot of miles. It's the most miles I've ever had in the car. The guy that I purchased this from, who was just like a regular guy, I really wasn't expecting to have a check engine light like a few days after. But I guess I'll explain to you guys the whole process of when I bought this car. So I pull up to the guy's house. Yeah, it's like an older guy, maybe in his 40s. He tells me the car was for his daughter, that his daughter was driving the car. He tells me that the only things that are wrong with this car is the rear hatch struts don't work, which is true, and the windows, they don't go all the way up, which that is kind of true. You can see here, it looks like the little gasket right here is getting in the way of it going up smooth, so it does struggle. And this is on both sides, so that's true. And then yeah, the rear hatch struts don't work, so that was also true. But he never mentioned that the AC would go out in 10 minutes, because the whole time I test drove the car, and I was there for like 20 minutes, the car was fine, like the AC was working. The way that the check engine light got through me was that when I got there, the car, you could tell it hadn't been moved in a long time. It had cobwebs all over the place. We get there and then the battery doesn't work, so we have to jump start the battery, which, if you guys don't know this, it will restart your check engine light. It will remove it temporarily. So the whole time I take the car for a test drive, I'm beating on it, I'm trying to, if there's something wrong with the car, I wanted to come out right then and there before I purchased the car, but everything was fine. So yeah, like that's how it got through me. And then a few days after, as soon as I hit 50 miles driving this car, bam, check engine light comes on. That's how it got through me. I mean, I can't think of a way how I could have seen this coming. I mean, I did kind of expect something to be wrong, which is why I kind of tried to get this car as cheap as I could. And I got it for $2,600. And even though I paid $2,600 and the car is kind of beat up, like it's all there. So the paint is just in rough condition. The interior is pretty clean for being 255,000 miles old. Overall, I think it's a fair deal. Would have been better. I would have been a really good deal if the AC worked and I didn't have to replace, hopefully, a catalytic converter. But now I'm estimating it to be a little closer to 7,000, which is higher than what Kelley Blue Book values this car. But either way, I'm not really in the business of reselling cars. That's not really what I do. But I do want to drive a nice daily RSX. I'll tell you guys why I think this car is still a fair deal, because this guy did put a ton of money. He told me he only had the car for like 2 years, and it looks like he spent as much money as I paid him for the car throughout those 2 years. He got 2 new tires in the front. I mean, they're Lionhearts, but still new tires. He replaced the fan switch, did the coolant, thermostat, and an intake boot. That was $260 right there. And then this is the big one. He replaced the engine with a used engine for 130,000 miles, and he replaced it at the beginning of this year. So this receipt is from January 20, 2023. He paid $1,660. So yeah. He also replaced the front suspension, but he didn't replace the rear suspension, and it does need to be replaced from what I can tell. A couple weeks I've been driving this car. The suspension is very rough in the back. So he spent almost another $1,000 replacing that. Let me show you guys the inside and outside of the car and give you guys a full detail of that. And then you guys can let me know, did I get scammed, or is it a fair purchase? I mean, obviously it's not ideal, but it is what it is. I'm still happy with the purchase of this car. As far as the engine bay is very clean, except for what another issue but this issue I did see when I purchased a car, but it's a very weird issue, and it's something I've noticed whenever I buy an old car. There's always a catch with them. The car might run good, it might look decent, but there's always something weird with them. And then this is what I'm talking about. There is like paint in like weird areas of the car, and it's like really bad in the back. It also didn't come with the privacy cover. I actually put that on yesterday. I'm hoping I can take that off with some acetone or some Goo Gone or something. Hopefully I can. I think I can. I don't know. Even if it's paint, I think it'll come off with the acetone. Look at the engine bay. The engine bay is really clean. And you see that it's often, I think that's an 02 RSX. And so this is the K28.3. This isn't the Type S where it comes with a K28.2 or a Z1. Still a reliable engine. I already ordered some dress-up parts for this car because, like I said, I want to bring this car back to life. I ordered a new dipstick, a new oil cap, a radiator cap. I also ordered these moldings. Found them real cheap. K-Series parts has it for like almost $100 a piece, but I found them for $45 a piece. So I picked up both of those. I'm gonna end up picking this up too, because when I made the order, I hadn't checked what was wrong with the window, but it looks like it's gonna be this. Another thing that I'm gonna do for this car, and I'm gonna do this very soon, is I'm gonna do the brakes, but I'm gonna be changing them, because that's one thing I did notice, is that the stopping power on this car compared to my Type S, but obviously I have the TL Type S Brembos on it, like, you can tell that it has a lot smaller brakes. I ordered the Type S calipers, so I'm gonna be putting Type S calipers in the front of this car, so it'll fill in like this gap. I think they're like an inch bigger than the regular base model, so stay tuned if you want to see how you do that. It's a very simple, at least it's supposed to be, from what I've read on it, it's supposed to be very simple. So I am going to be replacing these. I'm not a big fan of restoring them. I don't want to be doing it every 6 months, which is what I've noticed that you have to do. I do want to get a new grill, since this is like faded. Maybe I can swap in the one from my 05 Type S. I already have a bunch of parts on order, like I said. I'm just waiting on them to come in. I already have the headlights, which is what I have in the trunk. I already ordered the brakes, so I'm waiting on that. And after that, I think with just the paint, obviously I'm gonna put a DC5 Type R wing here, because that's literally my favorite part about this car, is that you can put a big wing on it and it doesn't look that weird. So far, with what I told you guys I purchased, the privacy cover, the headlights, the hatch struts, the brakes, at $3,500 so far with everything that I've purchased. So almost, I've already purchased about $1,000 worth of parts that I'm going to be putting into this car. This car really doesn't need much. It's all here. It works fine. It drives fine. I haven't had an issue driving this car other than those two things I mentioned to you guys, but the car runs fine. There's no issues with it. The car is complete. The steering wheel is messed up. I think I'm gonna buy one of those wrapping things to wrap it, like stitch it, and then I mean just a good cleaning, and I think this car is gonna be back to life. And obviously the paint, but the paint I'm gonna leave for the end. And I'm hoping to have all of this done by this year. I also purchased the emblems. So make sure you're subscribed to see how this car turns out. I am gonna do like a before and after. I am gonna try to cover a lot of the little details that I'm gonna be doing to this car. Stay tuned if you want to see that. Subscribe if you're not subscribed, and leave a like if you enjoyed this video. Let me know if I got scammed, how bad I got scammed. Let me know if you know of a way that I could have prevented this. I mean, the AC, obviously I could have probably just stayed there a little longer, but it is what it is. But the check engine light, I can't think of a way. I don't know if you can scan it when the check engine light isn't on. Maybe you can, I don't know. But yeah, leave a like if you enjoyed this video, and thanks for watching.